Very good evening. Thank you for joining Sai Satcharita Parayan. Jai Shri Krishna Guru. I hope you all had a very good day today. We'll continue with the next chapter. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Sai Satcharita, The Life and Teachings of Shirdi, Sai Baba. Chapter 22, Averting Accidental Deaths. My obeisance to Shri Ganesh, to Shri Saraswati and Shri Guru Maharaj, to the family deity, to Shri Sita Ramachandra. My most humble obeisance, I bow in reverence to the most venerable Guru, Shri Sai Nath. Glory to you, O Sadguru, O full and perfect joy, an incarnation of knowledge itself, who are most sacred. Hail to you, O most perfect one, the destroyer of the fear of the worldly life and of the evil propensities of this Kali Yuga. You are the ocean of joy, on the surface of which rise the ripples of various feelings and thoughts, and you alone, out of kindness to your devotees, restrain them. What appears to be a snake in the semi-darkness automatically becomes a rope in the light. You alone are the creator of both the semi-darkness and the bright light. You first give rise to fear by creating the illusion in the shape of a snake, and in the end, it is you who dispels that fear. First, when there was total darkness, with neither a snake nor a rope, and therefore no room for an illusion, that darkness, without a form or a shape, was also filled with your presence. Later, when a form appeared in that state of formlessness, and that too, in a dim light, the illusion of a snake appeared. This illusion was also your own creation. This feeling of seeing things one moment and their disappearance the next is really the result of your joyful nature, which is without any change or modification and which no one has been able to fathom. When trying to understand you, the Shrutis became silent and the Sheshnag, praising you with all his mouths, could not understand your real nature. Then how can I understand it? Baba, nothing now interests the mind except the revelation of your divine form, and I feel like meditating upon it, bringing it all the time before the eyes. Pure, perfect knowledge incarnate that you are, in order to enjoy the highest happiness, we have no other way except to fall at your feet. Oh, what a manner of sitting you always have. Numerous devotees, as they come for your darshan, place their heads on your feet and are overcome with an inner joy and love. And that foot of yours, oh, how does one describe it? One may say that, like the connection between the moon and the branch of a tree, the devotees also satisfy their strong desire for your darshan by holding tightly to the big toe of your foot. Once the 15th day of Krishna Paksha, the dark face of the moon, the dark night of Amavasya, new moon, is over, everyone is naturally eager to see the moon. As soon as the night of Krishna Paksha is over, each and everyone looks towards the west, gazing intently at the sky in the hope of seeing the moon rise. Similarly, you satisfy the intense desire of your devotees for darshan at your own feet. When you sit resting your right foot on your left knee, in the space between the forefinger and the middle finger of the left hand, which resembles the two forked branches of a tree, which tightly clasp the big toe, near that big toe of the right foot shines brightly the toenail, which resembles the shining crescent of the second day of the waxing moon. Great is the eagerness for seeing the moon, but the tiny crescent is not easily spotted in the sky. A knowledgeable man will then say, fix your eyes on the sky from between the forked branches of a tree. And then you will have the darshan of the moon from between the branches, right in front of you. Even though the line of the moon is so thin, it is seen clearly from there. Blessed is this big toe with its great significance. Baba himself became Veni Madhav, Shri Krishna, and satisfied Das Ganu's wish by making the sacred Ganga and Yamuna flow from that big toe. When Das Ganu asked leave of Baba to bathe at the sacred Prayag, know that this big toe of mine is itself Prayag, so bathe here only, said Baba. said Baba, and as Dasganu bowed at his feet, Ganga Yamuna both appeared at once there at his feet. And the beautiful the beautiful pada composed by Dasganu on that occasion, though it has already been heard by the ever eager listeners, which has already been given in Dasganu's own words in the 4th chapter of Shri Sai Satcharita. If the listeners were to read it again, they will once again experience the same wonder as on first hearing. Absolutely true. Here, what is being described is how does the Guru attract his devotees and what is the significance of the Guru's feet? How does Sai Baba sit? Sai Baba sits in a very beautiful manner. It's a position that he sits like he's placing his right leg right leg on his left leg, and the toe is what appears. He's clasping his hand, the fingers between his the big toe, between like the fork. If you see Baba's photo, he's sitting, you will observe this. What is the truth behind this? That toe signifies where the entire knowledge resides. That toe, both the feet, the toe signifies from where Ganga, Yamuna sprang upon. That is where they reside. So this is what is being described here. So the Guru's feet is where you will have to worship. We say, right, Dhyana Moolam Gurur Murti, Puja Moolam Gurur Padam. The worship has to be done to the Guru's feet, because that is where the entire universe, the knowledge, everything that you seek, all the sacred pilgrimage, everything rests right there. And once you surrender at the feet, and you make that feet as an object of your meditation, your devotion, let me tell you, your sins, your karmas, everything will absolve, and it becomes a magnet, an attraction for your mind. And once your mind is purified by constantly meditating on the lotus feet of the Guru, then your heart gets purified, your mind is purified, then the surrender unto the lotus feet of the Guru happens. So make the Guru's feet as an object of your meditation, or the point or the image that you want to concentrate or meditate upon. That is why we say, right, the entire murti, the entire form of Guru you can meditate upon, but the feet is the highest significance that it carries. So this is what is being described here. Hence, in accordance with the reasoning of the moon and branch connection, Baba showed an easy way of darshan by holding his big toe between the forefinger and the middle finger. Thereby, he seems to suggest, give up your ego and bow your head before all the living beings, meditating on my big toe. This is an easy way to attain devotion. Absolutely. My Guruji, has said, nobody can understand the divine. I have a very beautiful experience of this meditation on my Guruji's feet. There has been a time when I started meditating. This is very early in my days on this path of spirituality. I decided to meditate upon my Guruji's lotus feet. So when I would concentrate on that, I wasn't able to concentrate at all, because it's both the feet. I would try to focus on both the feet, but my mind was never able to. Either it'll pick one feet, or it'll pick the right or the left feet. Both the feet would never appear. But there was one beautiful experience that I had. It was the most blessed experience of my life. Literally, Lord Shri Krishna's feet. My Guruji is an essence of the Lord Almighty. And during that meditation, I was amazed and I was shocked. I was able to focus on both the feet of my Guruji. He literally, just placed it like this. And I was able to concentrate on it. And what happened is, then it split into 8 different feet, like how Lord Shri Krishna does the Ras Leela. So center 2 feet and around 8 feet. It was 8 different individuals. Like the Lord has split himself in 8 forms, and 8 feet. I could see. It was the most beautiful experience of my life. But trust me, that was the one time that I got that experience, and after that, it's never been. And no matter how much I try my mind to focus on his feet, it doesn't happen. But then the Guruji himself will then evolve you to what you have to focus and how you have to meditate. And that keeps evolving as you also evolve on the path of, the spiritual itself. So things keep evolving and Guruji will give you instructions accordingly. So you should always follow the instructions of the Guruji. And but assuming in case you are not having an instruction, you can always meditate upon the lotus feet of your master. And that time, my Guruji has described, nobody can ever focus on, as a whole, the whole aspect of the Lord. So he'll say, you either, pick the right eye and then you concentrate, you concentrate completely on that eye and, zoom in, literally focus your entire mind, everything to that one object and meditate, go deeper in it. And that is when you can go literally deeper into that and become one with that. So and like in earlier chapter where Baba has mentioned, there will not be the meditator or the meditation and the object of meditation. All will become one. You will literally go into that object and you will become one with that. Such is the case. So my Guruji had taught me, you just focus on the tip of the toe, just that one aspect, and then zoom in and like literally go into that. It's not such an easy task to attain because you will have to have that ekagrata, the single pointedness, and then you have to put arduous effort in sitting there and practicing this in solitude. This is not one day's achievement. It happens over a period of, I don't know how many years, literally your entire lifespan too. But you have to, seek the divine grace and every single day make that effort. And with the Lord's grace, you will be able to attain whatever the Lord will for you. Okay. So don't go with like, I should be able to meditate. Don't even have that object. And this is what my Krishna Guruji teaches every single day. He says, just surrender to the divine. When you will have to meditate, he will make you meditate. But you have to every day sit for that meditation. Give that time, 15 minutes or 30 minutes or 1 hour, whatever the time is that you dedicate for that meditation. Please be sincere to that. Sit there. And when the divine master sees your effort, he will on himself will evolve you on that path of meditation as well. So you don't have to do anything more than that. You cannot stress your mind and say, oh, mind, meditate, now I'm achieving. Please, it doesn't work like that. Meditation itself is a very sweet thing, where, but your mind is going to talk constantly. It's going to chatter, it's going to talk. And in one of the words, in one of the scriptures, it is mentioned that you need to put extraordinary effort. I think in Uddhav Gita, my Guruji was teaching me one verse from that, and it says you have to put extraordinary effort to control your mind. It is not so easy. So know that, but you have to have that discipline and sit for that meditation if you want to do that, and that's a choice you have. Now, go back to the previous tale. The narration of his bestowal of grace on the devotees has ended, but now listen attentively to the wonderful story that follows. Shirdi became a holy place of pilgrimage, highly sanctified by Baba's presence day and night. A steady stream of pilgrims flowed. Many seekers in search of spiritual merit flocked there. Sai Baba, the veritable boon-granting Kalpa-vriksha, wish-fulfilling tree, whose presence filled all the 10 directions, directly or indirectly, actually incarnated in Shirdi. Penniless and wealthy, he treated them all alike, and by showing his inconceivable leela, he ensured the welfare of his devotees. Oh, what boundless love he had in his heart, and the Brahmanyana was just natural to him. It was his firm conviction that the spirit in all beings is one and the same. Blessed is he who was fortunate enough to have a personal experience of Baba. Sometimes, to hold a resolute silence would itself be his discourse on the Brahman. Sometimes, this cloud of universal consciousness and joy would be surrounded by his throng of devotees. Sometimes, his utterances would be pregnant with profound meaning. Sometimes he would talk jestingly in light humorous vein. Sometimes he would leave aside his usual cryptic speech and feign anger. sometimes implied and suggestive, sometimes to be known by discrimination, and sometimes open and determined. Such were his different ways of giving instruction to different people. Beyond the power of the mind, intellect, and speech was the behavior of Sai Samarth, and his actions were simply beyond one's imagination, difficult to comprehend and quite unexpected. This is so very true. How the gurus instruct, we just cannot understand. The guru keeps instructing in different manners. Yesterday my guruji was teaching me, when you give a story, you need to prepare, you need to understand what does the story signify, and you need to stick to the story. Sometimes the mind wanders, so every day he'll give me a feedback. You need to improve, you need to find your way of doing satsangs. It'll open up naturally, but you need to put the effort. And today when my Guruji was doing the Das Bodh Satsang, and in that Samarth Ramdas has mentioned, you go, you prepare, you understand what is that you want to tell, what is the story you want to narrate, and you need to be prepared. And this was a very interesting lesson. Over the weekend, I have to give a talk on one of the technologies, digital transformation. So my Guruji has always taught this very beautiful lesson, which is you always have to write down. When you write down, it imbibes in your, it embeds in your mind. You're writing it down, so you're reading it, and also you're imbibing it. So somewhere it is there within you. So that is a very disciplined and an efficient approach on how do you, write down what is that you want to say. So you're preparing yourself. So he taught me last two talks saying, just write it down, then you'll be comfortable when you're talking. Then you're not going to think, oh, what is that I'm going to say. So what happened is during the talk, there were certain disturbances, but at the same time, the fact that I had all the preparation done and I exactly know what I was going to talk about or what are the things that I need to explain and the key, the key aspects that I want to bring it out in through the talk, it made me understand how effective is that exercise, that little effort. I spent about, say, 2 hours sitting and preparing, but that helped me because I could understand everything. I could also, that helped me to think in my work, how should I be able to use that? I understood what are the gaps that is existing today. It is so beautiful. So then I realized, oh my God, it's not just in the professional world, even in spiritual, right? When I am studying today, I'm reading the scripture with you. But if I don't go and prepare, what is this chapter today? What is it being taught? How will I bring the best out, right? Yes, the words are of the divine wisdom, but I need to make that effort. This is what the Gurujis teach. Nothing is going to come easy. You have to study, you have to make an effort. Discipline is the most important aspect. And this is what my Guruji so beautifully taught me through scriptures. So it's one of the ways of instructing. So he's only confirming, look, I told you, you need to go study every day. So tomorrow's satsang, I need to just be prepared. Go see what are the stories about, if there are difficult words, because this is a translation of Prakrit to English, right? So there are a lot of Marathi words. So probably my pronunciation is not right. So he says you have to pronounce it right. So go and prepare. If you don't know, come and ask me. But this is what we all have to do. Don't do half-hearted job in anything. You have to do it with full love. This satsang is the most beautiful one. And only through satsang can we redeem ourselves. So we have to be very sincere in any job that we undertake. I always tell my Guruji, I don't know how, I can give satsangs when such a great master himself is teaching all of this. Who am I? Then he says, why are you comparing? This beautiful thing that he taught me, you can do much better than me. That is the strength he gives me. Doesn't mean, I'm competing with him. No, he's perfect. He's ever perfect. He's all knowing. He's Sachidanand. I cannot compete with him. Or no, it's not even comparison. It's not about competing. Forget competing. It's not comparison. But he says you will evolve and you can become the better version of yourselves. That is what he's teaching. Do better, but put in that effort. Be very truthful. See, work is worship. Any service that we do, whether it is reading satsang or whether we are doing our work, we have to give our 100% to it. And through that, like Lord Shri Krishna has mentioned, as part of Karma Yoga, when you put all your efforts without even focusing on what is going to be the end result, that is a way to serve me. That is why we say work is worship. And please note this. Any guru for that matter, even Baba has many times said that the purpose of human birth, first most important purposes for attaining spiritual will. And second is, we all have come with a duty, which there is a duty associated to this body, and we need to do our swadharma. We need to do our duties very diligently, in dedication and in devotion, without expecting what is the end result going to be. This is extremely important. So please know that the Guruji's ways of instructing each one depends. Sometimes he's going to, say angrily to you. He's going to shout at you. Sometimes he's going to be very sweet. He's going to tell you in the most beautiful manner. Sometimes he's going to be exuding full of love. Sometimes he's going to instruct through, just a scripture. So his ways of instructing and doing things is unfathomable. That is what is being mentioned here. Beyond the power of the mind, intellect, and the speech, the behavior of Sai and his actions were simply beyond one's imagination, difficult to comprehend and quite unexpected. Long as one may gaze into his feet and his face, one's desire knew no satiety. Conversing with him, a longing grew for more and more. Listening to his words left behind a craving for it to continue, and the joy it brought could hardly be contained in the heart. Actually, I can explain this. It's so sweet, what Baba is mentioning here, and what is being said about Baba here. In the early days when I was with my Guruji, and I had to move to Singapore on work. So I used to live in Singapore. My Guruji was in India. You know what? I would call him, I think his night, and yeah, for me it's pretty late too, but because the time was 2.5 hours ahead, Singapore was. So I would call him and he would give me that time to talk. And I just could not put my phone down. I couldn't stop talking to him. And I would go on and on and on. My Guruji also was very sweet to allow me that. He gave me that time for whatever reason. I've just been blessed. And then I realized how precious the time, those moments were. There were a lot of lovely things we spoke about, and he would explain about different aspects of spiritual. He would give me so many beautiful stories of Lord Radha and Krishna, what happens in Vrindavan, how the Ras Leelas, about Ras Leela, and many others, different Leelas of the divine himself. How does Krishna behave, what does he do, and how does this love grow for Krishna? So many different things about sages, saints, you name it, endlessly. But despite all this, I couldn't stop talking to him. And that time my Guruji would say one thing: oh, you want to continue eating the sweet, right? You have to somewhere stop. You can't, you'll have diabetes. Not that mean you cannot be in love. That's not what he meant. He said you need to have somewhere the stop button. You need to stop. You always want an extension. You can't get that extension. It is very sweet. But this is exactly what happens when you're in the company of that great master. When the love goes on, when he keeps talking, you don't know when the time has flown. It's beautiful. You will not even know when it has. If you're starting in the day, it might be already in night, but you wouldn't even know how the time went by. That is how it is. It is so intense, and you'll get so involved with him, and it's full of love. This is what happens. I've experienced many disciples who come to my Guruji will sit talking and talking and talking, and he's teaching too, and endlessly. There has been times when my Guruji and we would travel, we would sit all night and talk. Sometimes you don't want to stop talking. It is like that. That's how powerful they are. And you need to love that aspect of being with the Divine Master. And when you get that company, please use it and don't waste it. One may be able to count the lines of the streaming rain or constrain the wind with utmost effort to a bundle. But where is the measure who can count Sai's miracles? Absolutely. But now listen at your ease to the next story of Sai's great concern about protecting the devotees, as also of how he warded off difficult situations. How, knowing the alarming danger to the devotees, he would instill courage into them, and averting their calamity, always watchful for their welfare that he would confirm their faith in him. Absolutely true. May they be the meek, the lowly, the poor, but their fondness for Sai's stories will increase. And if they chant Sai's name all the time, Sai will surely take them safely to the shore beyond. Kaka Sahib Mirikar was a resident of Ahmednagar city, pleased with whose service the government had conferred on him the title Sardar. Equally duty conscious was his son, Bala Sahib, who was Mamaldar of Kopargaon, And while on the tour to Chitali, he once came to Shirdi for Baba's darshan. As he went to the mosque and sat down after bowing his head at Baba's feet, conversation started, Baba asking him after the welfare of everybody. Many people were present there at the time, and so also was Madhav quite close by. Oh, my most attentive listeners, savor the sweetness of this sweet, nectar sweet tale now. It is really Baba's marvel how he would forewarn his devotees of the calamities to befall them, along with a plan to avert the danger and thus protect them. Now, just see the question that Baba quite unexpectedly asked Mirikar at that time. Do you really know that Dwarka Mai, name of his mosque, of ours? Bala Sahib was totally at a loss to understand the question, so Bala continued. Now, see, Dwarka Mai is none other than this very mosque. This is our own, our very own Dwarka Mai. When you sit on her lap, she gives you full protection as to a child. And there then remains no cause for worry at all. So very kind is this Mashid Mai, a mother unto the simple, faithful ones. Whoever may be caught up and in however grave a danger, she will protect him there and then. He who sits on her lap has overcome all his difficulties. He who rests under her shade has really mounted a seat of peace and comfort. This is that Dwarka, the Dwaravati. Baba then gave him Udi, placing his hand of protection on his head as Mirkar set out to go. And Baba suddenly felt like asking Mirikar the question, do you know that long Baba and snake and also his wonder? Curling the palm of the left hand, he held his elbow with the right hand and moving that curled palm up and down like the snake head, he said, so terrible he is. But what harm can he do us? We are the children of Dwarka Mai. No one can comprehend her power. Let us just wait and watch her marvel in silence. When the Dwarka Mai is our protector, how can the long Baba kill? How much can the power of the killer before that of his savior? Why should Baba come out with this explanation at that particular moment? And what was its connection to Mirikar? Everyone was most curious to know. So this is how the sages and the gurus talk. They say some things which we don't understand, but they're actually warning us. They know the past, the present, and the future of everybody, okay? But they're never going to discuss anything. But they will always, if there is something that's going to come, they want to avert that. And that time they will talk in a very cryptic language. You don't understand why they are saying. But you need to know one thing very, very very, very clearly here. When your Guruji or somebody says, don't go now or don't do this, you should immediately obey. The moment you obey and do not do what they are asking you not to do, then you will avert that calamity from happening in your life. But if you don't, because of your self-conceit or your mind's deceit, you do not care to listen, and then you're going to suffer the repercussions of not listening to them, because there is something that's going to happen and they are trying to avert, but you don't listen and you just go and do what you feel like, then you're definitely going to face that calamity. Nobody can even save you at that moment. And I have personally experienced with my own Krishna Guruji. I will give you a very beautiful story while we'll hear to what Baba is saying, but I will give you a very beautiful story about how my Guruji has done few of these miracles. I wouldn't say miracle, but that is who he is. The word is just a miracle, but there's nothing like a miracle. He has that, his blessing, his power, and his grace is what I call it. One of a student, and she's very passionate about diving, and she loves to go to beaches, and she likes swimming a lot. So she had gone on a vacation all by herself, and she was in this beach. It was quite cold. It was in December sometime, and I think there was nobody in the beach, and she was swimming. And while she was swimming in the beach, what happened was there's a huge wave from nowhere, and it literally pulled her deep in the sea. and there was nobody. And she was trying to call for help, asking people to come and rescue her, but nobody. There was hardly anybody. It was a very private beach, and she didn't know what to do, and she was just calling out. And when she was calling out my Guruji's name, or I don't know, the divine name, she called out from nowhere. Um, there were two men who came and helped her, like literally pulled her out from that place and brought her to the shore and left her right there and walked away. She couldn't remember, well enough seeing their face, but she knows this was the divine himself. That is all she says. And then what happens is she fell sick, and then she gained conscious. After she gained conscious, she goes to the hotel, and then she goes to the hospital and gets herself admitted over there. And then what happens was, she gets diagnosed with some medical complication. And my Guruji and I were at that time in we were traveling in India, and suddenly my Guruji is woke up and he became sick and all that. So I didn't know any of this, what was going on. But and then when he got a very early an urgent call, and then he said, I was waiting for this, I know this is happening. So he averted that by sending, by being himself in some form, and he saved her. That is how the masters work. They are all knowing. Whoever is surrendered with devotion unto the divine masters and the divine beings, they take care of them. They protect them from all calamities. That is the truth about what Baba is also talking here. It's a warning he's giving. But this individual is not able to understand what Baba is saying. But let us see what happens and how Baba saved Mirikar from the snake, being bitten. So that he's calling the snake as Baba. Actually, when he says Baba, Mirikar doesn't understand who is he referring to, but it is the snake. Then, and what did my Guruji do? Just coming back to the story that I was narrating, my Guruji became extremely sick, and he was suffering with high temperature and everything. What he did was he pulled everything on himself so that one of her students could be saved, and she doesn't have to go through any difficulties over there. And finally she was able to fly back home safe and sound and hale and hearty. This is the compassionate divine beings they are. I was literally in tears seeing him suffering, but that is the greatness of a divine being. We as human beings cannot suffer our own difficulties. How can we take on somebody else's difficulties? But the great masters wear themselves out for every other creation and every other being, whether it is an animal, whether it is a human being. It doesn't matter to them. They wear themselves out for this entire creation, and their well-being alone is their ultimate goal. So let us now see what happens. But no one had the courage to ask Baba, and so placing his head on Baba's feet and muttering something about getting late to reach Chitali, Mirikar came down the steps of the mosque. Hardly had he and Madhurao, who was with him, reached the door of the Sabha Mandap, that then Baba called out to Madhurao, saying, "Come back just for a moment." He then said, "Shama, you two get ready and go with him. Go make a trip to Chitali. It will be enjoyable." At once Shama came down, went to Mirikar and said, "I have to come with you in your Tonga to Chitali. I will just go home and get ready. I will join you in no time. Baba says that I should go with you to Chitali." Mirikar said to him, "But what will you do coming all the way to Chitali? It is unnecessary trouble for you." Madhurao turned back and told Baba what had taken place. Baba said, "All right, what do we do? What do we lose?" See, when Baba instructs, or any great master instructs, you have to obey. So don't bring your mind. The moment you bring your mind, you're actually letting the destiny take its destiny rule your life. And then the destiny is exactly going to put you in the trouble that you have to go through. But whereas Baba is trying to save you, this is exactly what my Guruji says. Please listen. When I'm saying don't do something or do something, you need to follow it with absolute sincerity. And when you do not obey and when you don't pay heed to what I'm saying, then you will all get into trouble. In the mantra, place of pilgrimage, Brahmin, god, astrologer, Vaidya or Guru, as is your faith, so will be the fruit that you will get. Absolutely. I keep saying this. As is your faith, so are your experiences, and definitely so, such will be the fruits too. We should always wish for the best interest of others and give proper advice. Whatever is in their destiny, so will it happen most certainly. Suddenly, Mirikar had a doubt. Baba's words must be respected. So he quietly signaled to Madhurav saying, come with me to Chitali. But now Madhurav said, wait, I will come. But let me take Baba's permission again. As soon as he says, yes, I will come at once. I will come back just now. I was coming, but you sent me back. Baba said, all right. What have we to lose? And he made me sit quietly. Now I will consult him again. The moment he says yes, I will come back quickly. Whatever he says, I will do, for I am but his obedient servant. He then went back to Baba and said, Mirikar wants me to come. He is taking me to Chitali with him and wants your permission. With a smile, Sai said, all right. If he is taking you, you go. Mashid Mai is her name. Will she ever go back on her promise? What does it mean is that the mother, see, Dwarka is a place where Lord Shri Krishna lived, and Mai means mother. It is the place, so Dwarka is a place where Dwarka is the mother, which is open for everybody. Dwaraka, Dwar also means the pathway to meeting the divine, and she is the mother of this entire universe. So you take refuge at the feet of the divine. You take refuge. So when you come to the shrine of that Lord, when you come to that Dwarka Mai, she's always going to protect you. This is what Baba is saying here. A mother is, after all, a mother full of love and tenderly merciful towards her child. But when the children themselves are untrusting, how can she look after them? Madhurav then made obeisance and set out. He came to sit in the tonga in which Mirikar was already seated. Both of them went to Chitali. On enquiry, they found out that the district officials who were to come had not come. So they sat back quietly. Arrangements had been made for them to stay at the Maruti temple, so both of them retired there at once. It was past 10 o'clock at night. They both spread out their cotton carpets, bedding, pillows, etc., and under the light of the lamp sat talking. A newspaper was lying there, which Mirikar opened and began reading. His attention was totally engrossed in reading some special news item when a most curious thing happened. At that fateful moment, a snake sat there all coiled up. How or from where he had crept in, eluding the notice of everyone, no one knew. At loose end of the uparana lay on Mirikar's waist, and on that soft seat he rested quiet and fearless. As he was gliding up slowly, the newspaper made a sibilant sound, but nobody connected the sound with the suspicion of a snake. So horrifying was the occasion, yet Mirikar was absolutely absorbed in the newspaper. It was the poem in whose mind the wild suspicion first came. It was a peon in whose mind the wild suspicion first came. From where does the sound come, and what could produce it? So saying, as he lifted up the lamp a little, he saw the long Baba. He panicked and he saw it and cried out softly, "Snake, snake." Mirikar, on hearing this, lost his nerve and began to tremble all over. Shamarao was dumbfounded too, as he said, "Baba, what is this you have done? From where have you sent this unwanted peril? Now you yourself must avert it." However, seeing the grave danger of the situation, each one panicked up, whatever came to hand, and ran forward noiselessly. It's very funny. We always said, why has Baba sent the peril? It's very funny. Why do we blame God? Why do we blame the Guruji? In fact, it is Baba who is saying that is going to happen, so he's trying to avert it. But instead, we are like, oh my God, thank God that Baba, you already warned us, or something like that. Instead of that, we say, Baba, why have you sent this peril? Is Baba interested in that you be bitten by a snake? That's what my Guruji says. Actually, I keep telling this to him. When he's going to say something, I'll say, please don't say something from your mouth. He says, my Guruji will say, you think what, just because I'm saying that is going to happen? No, it is already destined. It is written, so I am saying. I'm trying to avert that from happening. But you people don't pay, it's mentioned here, you people don't pay heed to what I'm saying. and you take it for granted. So please always know that when somebody say, when the great divine being or the divine masters say, don't do something, always obey that and do exactly what they ask you to do. And that way you will never let anything befall you, and they will protect you. They're always here to protect. Even now Baba is protecting. Why do you think he sent Madhavrao? He knew this is going to happen, and Madhavrao will be able to help at that moment. So, however, seeing the grave danger of the situation, each one picked up whatever came to hand and ran forward noiselessly. But even as they moved, they saw the snake slowly gliding down Mirikar's waist. To them, it appeared to be no snake, but a calamity personified that seemed to be climbing down. The eclipse cleared in no time. As the snake came down, the cudgels and raised hands came crashing down heavily on the reptile, cutting it into pieces. Seeing the danger averted in this way, Mirikar was overcome with emotion. Love for Sai Samarth overflowed his heart. The tremors of pain subsided and tears of love flowed freely from the eyes. Oh, what a terrible calamity was averted, and how did Baba know it? The great danger was overcome indeed, and what a timely warning Baba gave. He sent Shama for my assistance, making him sit in the Tonga in spite of me saying no. See, this is the greatness of the divine beings. Truly, his heart simply overflows with compassion, and what intuitive knowledge he has. Knowing the bad times ahead, he gave the proper advice. He revealed the great power of his darshan, and the importance of the mosque was impressed upon their minds. Through his Leela, he revealed his love for the devotees most effortlessly. Listen now to what Nana Dengle, a great astrologer with Srimant Butti, once said to Butti. Today is the most inauspicious day for you, for there is great danger to you, but have courage in your heart and be alert, be very alert. When Dengle said this, Bapu Sahib became very restless in his mind and kept on worrying. The day seemed ever so long. Later at the usual time, Bapu Sahib, Nana, and all others set out for the mosque and sat down with Baba. At once Baba and asked Butti, What does this Nana say? Is he all set to kill you? But we need not be afraid. Let us see how he kills you. Tell him without any fear that he may kill you if he can. Just see the miracle that followed after this conversation. In the evening, when Bapu Sahib had gone to the privy or fort toilet, a snake had crept in there at that time. Seeing the terrible obstruction, Bapu Sahib came out at once. His servant, Lahanu, thought that he would kill the snake with a stone. But as he was about to pick up a stone, Bapu Sahib restrained him, saying, Go get a stick instead. Hurry in such matters is not good. And even as the servant went for the stick, the snake began to climb on the wall, but lost his balance and suddenly fell down, gliding out of the hole. From there, then, he went away. Thus, there now remained no reason to kill him. Buddhi remembered Baba's words and marveled at Baba's ways of averting the danger, both to himself and the snake. He who has been fortunate enough to see with his own eyes the glorious pageant of Sai's association with his devotees will never be able to forget it. By giving many such experiences, he attracted the hearts of devotees. Space will not be enough if all these experiences were to be described. Such description have no end. And now listen to another such incident which actually happened in the Chavdi at about 1 o'clock at night and right in front of Baba. In Kopargaon Taluka, there is a place called Korale, which was a village of Watan of one Amir Shakhar, who had great devotion for Sai Baba. Born a butcher, his occupation was that of a middleman, and he was quite well known in Bandra. He was afflicted with a serious disease, which left him severely debilitated. When afflictions come, God is remembered at once, giving up all the toil and botheration attendant upon his business, winding up all his transaction, he raced down to Shirdi. Kunti, the mother of 5 Pandavas, though she suffered numerous hardships when she lived in concealment and in the forest, she yet prayed to God for more difficulties. "O God Almighty," she said, "give happiness to those who ask for it, but to me, give always a succession of hardships. Let me not forget to take your name." How sweet. Can anybody ask like this? There's a very beautiful chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam about what Kunti asked Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna has mentioned. You should go listen to my Guruji's Srimad Bhagavatam Satsang, and he has given a beautiful explanation on this particular chapter. Can you and me ever ask that we want pain and suffering? No, but what is mentioned is absolutely true. Only in suffering, only through suffering do we take the name of the Lord. But everything is going good, we will never remember the Lord. That is the truth of this world and the reality of life. How sweet is that? Imagine how evolved will you have to be to ask something like that. That is my only request. If you will give me only this, so that your name will become a lasting ornament to my throat. Absolutely. Ram, the name of the God. It's always the Naam Japa. That is extremely important and will purify your heart and mind, and surrender to the divine will happen. And you will attain that same Naam that you keep chanting about. Oh listeners, and this narrator too, let us ask of Sai this and this alone, that let us never forget your name and give us refuge at your feet. And so Amir made obeisance and kissed Baba's hand with its attendant ritual. He described in detail his malady and prayed for liberation from pain and suffering. He asked Baba for a remedy for the rheumatism that had afflicted him. Baba replied, "Go and sit quietly in Chavdi." The Chavdi where Baba went for the mosque every alternate night was to be the dwelling for Amir. Amir, who was tormented by rheumatic pains, could happily have stayed anywhere else in the village. He would even have gone back to Korle. Any other place would have suited him fine. As for this Chavdi, it was ancient, literally from the time of Malik Amber, Diwan of Ahmednagar from 1597, and was quite worn out and decayed from above and from below. Chameleons, lizards, scorpions, and snakes lived there freely. Moreover, there lived lepers in that place, and so did frogs, dogs, feasting on the leavings and fragments of food. Amir felt very sad, but before Baba, no arguments prevailed. The rare portions of this Chavdi were filled with debris. There were numerous potholes, some knee deep. His misery was worse than a dog's wretchedness. Truly, it was as fruitless journey of life. Rain leaking from above, dampness and moisture in the ground below. Unleveled, the place was full of ups and downs and hollows. To add to everything, the wind and the cold played havoc. In his mind, Amir was greatly worried. The joints of his body had become stiff with all this exposure to wind and rain, which left behind a constant dampness in the place. The only medicine was Baba's words. See, why the Guru says and how he is going to cure you, you can never have. What the Guru says is something you cannot even fathom. His remedies are so unique, you cannot even imagine. But his remedy will cure your disease provided you have faith. It is the faith in the words of the Master, the Guru. That is all you need. To him, Baba had said firmly, "There may be rain, there may be dampness, there may be ups and downs and big hollows, but think nothing of them. There may have been doubts about the suitability of the place, but he considered Sai's company as its greatest blessings, and Sai's words his only medicine. So he stayed happily. For full 9 months, Amir Shakkar stayed in that Chavdi, having spread out his bed in the middle of the room, right in front of you, as you climbed up the steps of the Chavdi. Rheumatism had taken a firm root in his body, and, at least outwardly, the remedy seemed just the opposite of what it should be. But the faith within was staunch and unwavering, due to which everything turned out to be all right. Amir had been ordered to stay there for 9 months. Going to the mosque for darshan was forbidden too. See, you need to have that strength, that forbearance, that fortitude, and that faith, unwavering faith. He just took Baba's words and obeyed it to the T. That is what you need to have. But that Chavdi was a place allotted to him where he used to get Baba's darshan automatically without an effort. And that darshan too, he had daily, morning and evening. On every alternate day, twice in the day, he would watch the festive ceremony at the Chavdi to his heart's content. When Baba went to collect alms every morning, his route went past the Chavdi. So while coming and going, his darshan was easily available to him without his even having to leave his place. Similarly, every day in the evening, Baba would come before the Chavdi and would stand engrossed in saluting all the directions by shaking his head and the index finger. From there, he would then go back to the corner of the Samadhi Mandir, and from thence he would return to the mosque accompanied by his devotees. He would go to the Chavdi every alternate night, where only a nominal partition of a door of wooden planks stood between the two of them, and both were very fond of talking. Puja, Arti, etc. took place there itself, after which the devotees went home. Thereafter, both of them would talk to each other leisurely. Confinement, though it was outwardly, the enjoyment of a very close association with Sai was a gain, which is hard to get without a good fortune. Absolutely. And yet Amir was bored. To stay confined in that one place all the time was to him an imprisonment. He felt that he wanted to go away to some other place. So fond of his freedom, how could he, like such a dependence? Oh, enough of this confinement, rose a strong urge in Amir's mind. Without Baba's permission, he set out, abandoning his appointed place. He went to Kopargaon and stayed in a dharmashala. And now see the marvel that took place. A fakir on the threshold of death was dying of thirst and entreated for a draught of water to drink. Moved by compassion, Amir went to give him some water. The moment he drank it, the body of that fakir fell to the ground lifeless. Then and there, he was dead. No one was around. Moreover, it was night. Amir's mind grew confused and agitated. In the morning, there will be an inquest and people will be arrested in connection with this sudden death. Government will hold an inquiry. Even if the truth were told, who will at once believe it to be so? The judgment will depend on witness and evidence, such is the procedure of law. I myself gave him water and the fakir all of a sudden lost his life. If I were to tell this truth, I myself will be caught quite easily. Seeing my direct involvement in this, they will catch me first. Later on, when the real cause of death is determined, I will be acquitted. But the interim period before it is determined will become unbearable with suffering. So thinking, he decided at once to go back the same he came. So thinking, Amir set out from there in that very night. On the way, he was uneasy in his mind that anyone might see him, and so kept looking back every few steps that he took forward. How he would make it to Chavdi, for till then his mind would not be at rest. With much misgiving in his mind, Amir proceeded towards Shirdi. Said to himself, Baba, what is this you have done? It's a common thing everybody will say. Why will Baba do? It is his own mind which, after having stayed that long, told him that he can't stay anymore and he walked out. And why is he blaming Baba? Did Baba tell him to go? Similarly, when your Guruji instructs you, please follow to the T and don't then come and tell, Guruji, why are you doing this to me? This is a very common thing that I've heard. I've also been part to that many years ago. When not knowingly we all accuse and attribute that the divine or the gurus do something bad to us. No, it is our destiny. It is our karma that we have to face. On the contrary, the divine masters, the gurus, and all the great divine beings and the God himself wants to always take care of you. They're only doing good for you. They care about your well-being. But you need to first be deserving of it, and you need to have that faith. Faith is the most important word in all of this. And if you don't have faith, nothing will happen. So, even with Amir, he had that faith, unswerving faith. But why did he immediately listen to his mind beyond a point? You need to just have that faith and keep at it. The gurus know how to, evolve you from there, cure your disease or avert all that obstacles, avert any calamities and anything that is bad that is going to happen to you. So have that faith alone and listen to your master's words to the T. Do not override anything that is saying. And if you do, then you will have to face the consequences. What sin of mine is visiting upon me? Oh, it is my own karma that I am paying for. This I know full well. To seek happiness, I left Chavdi, hence you have punished me. But now please relieve my pain and suffering and take me to Shirdi safely. Amir packed up in no time and leaving the corpse there in that dharmashala at night, set out in the same night, with Baba Baba on his lips all the time, entreating his forgiveness. When he reached the Chavdi at last, his mind was at rest. Thus Amir learnt his lesson. From then onwards, he made a firm resolve and, abandoning wicked evil ways, began to follow the path of righteousness. His faith cured him and he became free from rheumatic pain. Now listen to what took place later on. The Chavdi was divided into only three parts. The southeast quarter was Baba's seat, walled on all the four sides by wooden planks. Baba used to sleep there. The whole night lamps were kept burning, for he always slept in the light of the lamps. On the outer side in the darkness sat fakirs, bairagis and beggars. Amir was treated as one among them. There used to be other people around who would also be lying down in the same place. Of these, there were many. There, behind Baba's seat, where all the stores and miscellaneous things were kept, Baba's most detached and faithful devotee, Abdul, was in person ever ready to render service. On one occasion, at around midnight, Baba suddenly called out to Abdul, saying, "Just see, a ghost stands at my bedside. Call upon call." He gave to Abdul, who came there at once, a light in hand. Baba said to him loudly, "But it was here just now." Abdul said, "I have looked everywhere, but I can find nothing here." Baba said, "Look carefully everywhere, keeping your eyes wide open." Abdul looked again and again. Baba began striking the ground with his baton. All the people sleeping outside woke up to see what had happened. Amir Shakar woke up too, saying, "Oh, what is this wild shouting, this vehemence today, and why these repeated strokes of the baton at this unearthly hour of the night?" Seeing this Baba's Leelas, Amir at once understood in his mind that a snake must have entered somewhere, and Baba had come to know of it. He had much experience of Baba's ways. He knew Baba's nature and his manner of talking, so he understood everything. When danger stalked close to the devotees, Baba would say it stood at his own side. Amir knew this language, so in his own mind he at once drew the inference. Suddenly, at his own bedside, he saw something wriggling. "Abdul, bring the lamp here first," Amir cried out. As soon as the lamp was brought, he saw the huge expanse of a coiled snake, who, dazed by the light, was moving his head up and down. The snake was laid to rest there itself by those assembled. They thanked Baba profusely, saying, "What a very strange way of alerting the devotees, indeed. What ghost and what light? It was only an ingenious device to warn his devotees of the imminent danger and to protect them from it." There are innumerable such instances about snakes in Baba's life story which can be narrated, and they have been briefly narrated here only to avoid expanding the book. Snakes, scorpions, they all are Narayan, God, says the saint Tukaram. But they should all be bowed to from far. These are also his words. Again, this is extremely important. A very interesting lesson my Guruji will say. Yeah, there are all kinds of creatures, and everything is God's creation in themselves, and they are God themselves. But we need to see God in every being, but does not mean you go put a hand in a in the snake's the anthill, and you don't go put your hand in that and get the snake to bite your hand. You just need to admire them from far. So don't go and get yourself stinged or bitten by a snake or a scorpion, because God has created them. They are perfect in their places, but it doesn't mean that you go and pet a snake. That is what the teaching of the spiritual aspect mean. You only have to admire them from far away. So don't go and pet a snake or a scorpion. The truth of the matter is, as is one's nature and one's destiny, so is his karma or action. Baba, however, had only one answer to this question. All living beings, he said, are equal, and therefore non-violence towards all is their common rule. whether it be a scorpion or a snake, God dwells in all alike. And so, when He does not will it so, can they harm anyone? This whole universe is controlled by God. Nothing here is independent of his will. Such was Baba's knowledge based on experience. But still, our baseless, offensive conceit will not leave us. A scorpion that has fallen in a tank rolls and tosses in his struggle to come out, but sinks nevertheless to the bottom of the tank. Seeing this, one claps gleefully, saying, "You also torment others similarly." At the sound of the claps, another comes running to the tank and seeing the drowning scorpion sinking and rising repeatedly is moved by compassion. Going near him, he then catches the scorpion firmly between his thumb and the forefinger, and the scorpion, true to his nature, springs back in retaliation and stings his little finger. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, of what use is all our knowledge here? We are all together in the power of another. God is the giver of disposition, and whatever He wills will happen. Varied are the experiences of various people. I will also narrate my own experience here. Baba's words must be respected by keeping implicit trust in Him, for it is only through such firm faith that His greatness and glory can be experienced. And let me explain a very profound truth here. Every creature or every living being in this universe has their own nature, and they cannot change their nature. Lord Shri Krishna has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, when you are born, you come with the nature, and that nature cannot be changed at all. But being on the path of spiritual, what is your Guruji teaches you is that he teaches you to control your nature or direct it for the benefit of this entire well-being of this entire universe. So you're channeling for doing some good in this universe, for good of yourself, for good of others. So that is how the nature has to be directed, or also the nature can be fine-tuned, it can be controlled, but you can never overcome your nature. And the beautiful example here is that there's a truth. The spiritual truth is that, see, when somebody is going to save the scorpion, it is his goodness. The nature for him is to save, but the nature of the scorpion is to sting. So what Guruji teaches here is that, why should I or you give up our goodness or our good nature that we have? We should never change, our good character, our good virtues, whatever the virtues we have, for anybody else. Let the world be who they are. Let the scorpion sting. The scorpion is anyway going to sting because that is its nature. But doesn't mean you stop being good. And that is why my Guruji will say, no matter what anybody does, even if they do the worst thing to you on planet Earth, you still have to do good alone to everybody, because we are the the devotees and the divine being, where we are the divine ourselves. So we always have to bring the divinity within us of being goodness personified. That is why it's very important to always be your good self. No matter what anybody does, don't say a bad word, don't say anything, don't do any harm to anybody. Always show goodness, compassion, kindness, be gentle, be loving, be forgiving. That is what will evolve, and you will attain your spiritual will by absolute devotion and love to the Master and the divine being themselves. Varied are experiences of various people. Okay, this I finished. Kaka Sahib Dikshit used to read Nath Bhagwat during the day, and similarly every night he used to read without fail Bhavarth Ramayana of Eknath Maharaj. Okay, I think we're already end of the hour and I've exceeded a couple of minutes. I apologize that. So we will stop with this where we ended, and we'll start with this new story tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining the Sai Satcharita Parayan. You have a very good evening, and see you all tomorrow at the same time. Om Shri Mahaganapate Namaha. Om Shri Gurudev Datta. Om Shri Sachidananda Satguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Digambara Digambara Shripad Vallabha Digambara. Om Shri Krishna Gurunathanatha Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Devi Durgaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Arpanam Namastu. Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum.